the opportunity to talk with you. So I think you discussed previously, I don't want to make too many assumptions about what you know and don't know about the 10-year plan. So if I say something that doesn't make sense, please stop me. It's a bit of a confusing, convoluted process. But I think you had a little bit of background from Central New Hampshire Regional Planning, and you had this form that we had to fill out to give to Central New Hampshire Regional Planning. This was due last Friday. And since we didn't meet last week and talk about it, Neil and I thought it was the best course of action to fill out the form, get it to Central New Hampshire Regional Planning. If you have adjustments that you want to make, we can, it's still just with them. It hasn't gone, first it goes to the Transportation Advisory Council Committee, TAC, and then it gets pushed forward to, I believe it's Governor and Council and DOT and others. So it's still with them. So if we want to make adjustments, we can. I also had an Economic Development Committee meeting last Thursday, and the choice of project to put forward was unanimous with that group as well. So what we would like to put forward with your blessing is into the 10-year plan, and suggest into the 10-year plan is the intersection in Kentucky Village. It's Fountain Square intersection where it's State Route 127, Maple Street comes down and meets State Route 103. It's Main Street and Park Ave to the north. So that is just a very, it's rather unsafe, it's rather confusing. There's just a lot of potential for pedestrian, bicyclist, car, tractor trailer truck interaction, and that's not a great, there needs some safety measures to be put in place. And at the same time, we can address issues of sidewalks, crosswalks, other pedestrian, so vehicular and non-motorized safety there. And that project or that intersection, when the surveys went out for the master plan revisions, that intersection ranked third in importance of some of the major intersections in town. The first is already in the 10-year plan and fully funded, which is amazing. It's the Harts Corner intersection, 2029 and Maple Street 127. So that is in the 10-year plan, funded at $4.5 million. The plans, I don't know what they are yet. Could be a roundabout, it could be a signalized, we don't know what it is yet. We're keeping our eyes on that, but that's already there. So that was the number one concern of people in town when they responded to that survey. The second one is the intersection by the fire station, which is for sure worthy of modifications, but we think that that can be done for much less cost. The 10-year plan is really designed for projects that are $1 million or more, and that has the potential to be a lesser project, which if this is a discussion that's ongoing. If the town wanted to prioritize that, we could prioritize that on our own. And it seems, while it is not ideal, it is slightly less dangerous maybe than the intersection at Fountain Square. So, and then the other one that was raised, so there are two more that were raised in the master plan surveys. One is the intersection here in Hopkinton Village. Again, it's sort of a smaller budgetary commitment potentially, something that the town, again, if we were to prioritize that, could take on our own. And then the exit 4 interchange, also very confusing, is already on the radar of the Central New Hampshire Regional Planning. It's in their transportation improvement plan, which is what the 10-year plan or transportation improvement program, which is what the 10-year plan is based on. It's all very there's TYP and TIP and all these things. So that's already on their radar. It didn't score high enough to be included in the 10-year plan last time. Who knows how it will score this year, probably will be the same. I am highly confident, as is the contact at regional planning, the transportation specialist believes that the intersection, the Fountain Square intersection, will be very highly scored and will likely make it into the 10-year plan. So so any questions at this point?
Yeah, and is there any reason we couldn't also put in for the fire station?
We could. That is certainly a discussion we could have. We could do two proposals. We could do them both, or we could combine them and do one large all of Conshohock Village project proposal.
One thing about that intersection is that includes 2 town roads, which is somewhat different. Some of that intersection is our issue. So that was kind of why it wasn't put in, that it seemed more likely that the Fountain Square would actually end up in the 10-year plan if the other intersection was.
I think that would be my concern with combining them, is that it may cause them not to select or score as highly the Fountain Square.
Okay, that sounds
solar
like
project. Yeah.
good answers. Thank you. All of you.
For the proposal we had to put forward, like how, was it just like fix this intersection, or how detailed was the?
No, so I can share this with you if you want. It's fairly,
They do get caught.
you did get copies of this, okay. It's fairly cursory, but it's essentially just says the purpose statement of the project. So it's to address safety issues arising from a lack of pedestrian or bike infrastructure, unclear traffic configurations, and then the need statement for the project, just how central it is to our area of commerce, and they're heavily traveled. They provide access to schools, fairgrounds, all these things, Interstate 89 on both sides, scope of the project. It's fairly.
It's not like widen the road by this many feet, put in this
No.
block here. It's just kind of like all the problems, and then they take care of all that.
That's right.
Cool.
And engineering is part of
Their process.
Yep, exactly.
Like, for example, on the other intersection, the Dunkin' Donuts intersection.
Yeah.
Engineering was in for last year. So that's been done. So now they'll be moving, and there'll be public hearings on the plan.
Got it.
Into the construction phase.
Cool.
There it is. So does that all feel good to you? I don't know whether you need to vote on the project proposal. I don't.
Do you think we need a?
I don't think we do.
Great.
We have our blessing. So.
Well, thanks. That's great. I'm glad you agree. So if it's all right with you, I have a little bit more time, right? I can provide a few quick updates. And I'm gonna, the first one I want to address, because I see a couple of people on the Zoom who are involved in this, is that the Abenaki Trails group would like to install a sculpture in Riverway Park. And they contacted Neil. Neil said, hold on, don't do anything. We have, plans in the works to do other things there. So why don't you coordinate with our economic development director about citing this statue? Or it's a bas-relief plaque that Carol Lake, who's on the call, has been commissioned to create. So we met there last week. We think we found a pretty nice spot for this. It would be mounted onto like a stone or a boulder. And it would be visible. It would not interfere with other things that may be coming down the pike for the park. So
they're actually scheduled in next week. And I'm thinking, because we scheduled it during the day last week, they kind of got scheduled 2 weeks out. So I don't know if they still need to come, or I'll check with them. I can see Daryl.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so, yeah, Daryl, yeah, would be the one to talk with. They, they understand that they still need to present this idea to you for permission to install that in the park. So that's just a quick brief for that. And while I'm on the subject of Riverway Park, the other sort of big item there is the repaving the parking lot. We were granted our DES shoreland permit, which is very exciting, to go ahead with that work. The less exciting, rather sad part is that we had hoped, Dan Blanchette with Highway and I and others working on the idea had hoped to install granite curbing in certain areas around the parking lot, and there is no granite curbing in New England until 2023. So, I mean, we've contacted like 5 different suppliers, 4 different installers throughout the region, and there's just none, which is in a way great. Everyone's upgrading their infrastructure, and that's awesome. But there's none for us. So in talking with Dan and Neil, the idea at this point is to encumber funds to do this next year when we can secure the granite curbing. The problem, and Dan, if you're more interested in this, it doesn't make sense to pave and then go back in and put the granite curbing in after the fact. You can't get a good seal, you'll get grass growing in there, water will get in there, it'll buckle the pavement. So it's just, sadly, I'm very sad to have to wait on this, but waiting till the spring or next summer to finish that project seems like the better way to go, to do it once and do it right. So.
I assume there's no like granite alternative that would be attractive to us.
No, I mean, we did talk about that, or you can do, and to be totally honest, the Economic Development Committee really wants to also get this done like now. And they were asking about alternatives as well. What about cast concrete, or they call it a Cape Cod berm, where you just you do like a bump in the pavement. And just none of them will hold up to plowing as well as the granite.
Okay.
So that's where we are. However, I will defer to what you all would like to do there. So.
Well, I think the order of operations makes total sense. And if there's no like obvious good alternative to granite, then
Yeah,
waiting makes sense to me, even though it's unfortunate.
I'm really bummed about
Yeah.
that. It was not the thing that I expected to pull this up at all.
Not in the granite state.
Haha.
Sorry.
There.
This is what you guys miss when I'm not here.
You had mentioned encumbering. Would it be out of Dan's operating budget or federal money?
work through that. But yes,
I think there are options there.
there are, yeah. And you have to vote to encumber anyways.
Yeah.
Right. And we just have to do that before the year is out.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. A couple of other quick things. You received in your packet, I think, a map of the 7090 district for Hopkinton Village. So just a quick note on that. So 7090 is the historic preservation tax incentive where a property owner can apply to hold their taxable amount at the pre-rehab value if they were to improve their property, and there's public benefit, meaning housing creation, economic development benefit, things like that. It's well spelled out in our 7090 application. However, the only map that exists in the application is of Kentucky Village, which is great. There's a lot of possibilities there. But by definition, because we, I think it was always intended to apply to both villages, and by definition, it applies to Hopkinton Village as well, because it is in a village zone. So this is zoned village. So the idea is just to update the packet with a map of Hopkinton Village showing where the district is, just so that folks are aware that this applies to both village zones.
That you should vote on.
And it was just an oversight that we didn't include a map last time.
I do not know. Well before my time.
Yeah, I think you had asked for the map and didn't get them.
Who creates the map?
Well, I created this one, and I have also updated just so that it stylistically matches the map in Kentucky Village, so that they're the same. So we can, you want to vote on both of those up to Kentucky, and so the boundaries are exactly the same on the Kentucky Village map, and on the Hopkinton Village map, they conform exactly to the village zone.
And where do these live, these maps?
So there's this lengthy packet.
Okay,
And it's on the website.
I see. Okay.
Or folks can come and get it here, but they're in this packet.
Okay.
Illustrating.
All right.
79.
So you don't need to vote on Kentucky because there's no changes. But
Okay.
you would need to adopt Hopkins.
Okay.
Can I ask questions, like technical questions? I'm all for all of this, but so those maps, is it just the drawn map, or does it also accompany like with like wordage?
A list of-
specifying- It doesn't, it's just map?
Yep.
Okay, weird, cool.
But the application has,
Yeah, and then, so the application goes in and then they draw this map based on the verbiage.
I would say the map is just what I'm looking for. It's
Like a
it's
representation.
just
of-
guidance for
Yeah.
whether you're in or you're not.
Totally.
and you get the ultimate authority anyways. the
Right.
board
You get to
vote
determine.
on each individual application.
Got it, cool. And I think my other question is better for the planning board, so I'll ask them next time. Cool.
When did we, I mean, I support doing this, but I guess my question is kind of a process one. When did we adopt 79E? Neil or Anna, do you know?
I think it's
79E was adopted in a town meeting in 2009.
Do you know if the vote on that was specific to Tukey?
It was not.
Okay.
It was they adopted the statute.
Okay, okay,
Which is, and
All
it
right.
really wasn't, it's only been used the one time
yeah,
so far.
okay. That's what I was just wanting to make sure that the town meeting vote wasn't so restrictive that we're stuck
Yeah,
going back to town
They
meeting.
just adopted
Okay.
79.
And the language of 79E implicitly already includes Hopkinton Village.
Right,
So it's,
because it meets that definition
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
yeah, because the qualifying structures meet that definition.
Any other questions? All right, I'll move that we adopt, is that the right thing we're doing here? Adopt the map of Hopkinton Village as part of the 79E package.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Try to be very quick. I've got a couple more quick
You have
updates.
3 minutes, but you can go beyond if
I won't get arrested, but
you.
my time. He'll be busy, so. Okay, I wanted to update you on a couple of exciting things around wastewater.
Oh.
Very exciting. You can tell this is where my nerdiness comes out. So we submitted pre-approvals for state revolving loan funds. And we were pre-approved for upgrades at our wastewater treatment facility, which is the sewer plant on Maple Street or Public Works Road. And for the pump station in Kentucky Village. The amount is 10% of the project cost at this time, which is not insignificant. Those projects are quite large. So we're on a priority project list for those projects, and those are kind of in process. There were open public hearings and things like that on the projects, and so we'll see what ends up settling out of the total amount that they have to give and which projects are in and out. But that's out there. The other one that's, I think, a little more exciting and more promising perhaps is we also were pre-approved for a grant of ARPA funding for a solar array to power the wastewater treatment facility. So I think it was presented to you all back in the spring that we had an energy audit done, and there's funding for implementing those energy audit measures. And I was expecting that it would be part of the state revolving loan fund, but it's actually a full ARPA grant. So the only issue there is that we were approved for we were approved at the full amount that we asked for, which is $135,000 for installing the solar array. The actual cost that we were proposed was closer to $315,000. And that's partly because prices have gone up everywhere, but it's partly because the system that we applied for was under-designed. So there's like tens of thousands of kilowatt hours were not included originally, but I've been in touch with the state, and their recommendation is, so when the full application comes out, is to apply for the full amount in ARPA money. And they will take a look at it, and whatever ARPA funds they can give us, they will, and the remainder ideally will be approved for the state revolving loan fund. So,
Awesome.
yes, which could potentially be forgiven 50, 75, 100%. So we could, in theory, be operating our wastewater treatment facility with zero cost to us, which is a big deal.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So stay tuned on that.
Yeah, I do have some questions on
Yes,
that,
please.
because I was
try to answer
looking
them.
back at the energy evaluation we got back in the spring,
Mhm.
and it was showing the proposed energy measures as well as the proposed solar PV.
Mhm.
And like there was a measure to operate the blower at lower VFD speed.
Yeah.
Has that been implemented?
I believe that Sam is working on all of the no cost, low cost measures. So yes.
So if we take out the low cost, no cost measures, this report was showing an annual need of about 70,000 kilowatt hours. Is that what you're saying is totally underestimated?
Correct. Yes.
That's what was throwing me.
Yes, that is the amount that they had to work with. And I think they may have left out part of the system. I'm not sure why it's so low, but the actual energy usage, I mean, I have all of the energy bills from Eversource that show exactly the amount that we need per year. I think they had them too, but I think they maybe just didn't add them together. I don't know.
The size of the array would potentially generate basically enough electricity to power the lagoon, but not anything extra, more or less.
At that, yeah, I would say that's a correct assessment, that at the amount that we were approved for, we could run half the system.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, sure. Lastly, I'm sure that you've all heard about the governor's Invest NH program, which is the housing creation incentive program. There's a portion of it that is geared towards helping municipalities audit and adjust their land use regulations to encourage housing creation. The first phase of there's three phases of that grant program. The first phase, the deadline is in January of 2023. It's up to $25,000 for a consultant to do a housing needs assessment. Essentially, the recommendation is that municipalities wait until the regional planning commissions have completed their regional needs assessments, which are coming out in December. I do think that we know enough that we can start on the process of applying for these funds. And Karen and I, she may have gone, but Karen and I have talked a lot about this. For phase one and then phase two is more like regulatory audit, which would then, that would be next summer with the application deadline. So we will wait for the regional housing needs assessment, but we think we can get started on that because we know that there's a need. Just wanted to update you that we are working on that and thinking about that, and hopeful on that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure, and I did provide you all, so this is available, and just so for the public too. The Economic Development Committee, we have a strategic priorities spreadsheet that is available on the Hopkinton EDC website, which is happeninginhopkinton.com. So it's all there for the public to look at and review, and my email and contact is all there. So if folks have questions, comments, I really strongly encourage folks to reach out to me. I love to talk, obviously.
The Thursday night thing seemed to be going well.
The concerts, yeah,
Yeah.
in town. Yep, they're very successful. Yeah. So
Love
that's
to
good.
see it.
Yep. The chamber is doing a great job
Yeah.
organizing all of that. So,
All right. Well, thank you, Anna. We appreciate all of your work.
thank you. Any other questions? I'm happy to
You know where to find you.
field them. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Thank you.
All right. Bye, Anna. Okay. We're 6 minutes late for Chief Hennessy. You're up for talking to us about speed limits. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. So I tried to research some stuff, and ask people what the most effective way to make them slow down, I guess you could say. And do you still have those printouts that I gave you by any chance? There was a couple of signs that I think are good. So it's not just a radar trailer. You put a LED sign just below the speed sign, it'll,
We kind of talked about.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think those are very effective, and people see them a lot more than just a speed limit sign. I think we're so trained just to drive and not really look. I wasn't paying attention, that's why I was speeding. We get that a lot. So the speed limit sign that flashes at you, once you're going too fast, and there's one's got the white LED that flashes really quick in the middle. I think those are very good attention getters, which I think would be very good to supplement with good enforcement. So I think those are probably the best route to go, and they are fairly expensive, but they're probably one of the least expensive options. So,
Research some grants.
yeah.
Going specifically to the Indian Ridge concern,
Yep.
do you know, has the signage been fixed? Because it looks like it was flagged that it was 25 one direction, but 30 the other direction.
I believe I talked to Dan Blanchett about that. He was going to look into it, and I
Okay.
believe I believe that has been rectified.
Okay.
Double check on that for you. If it hasn't, it will be.
So if we were gonna try to put up some of those signs, is there, like, do you have a good idea of where you'd want to put them, or how many we'd want to do, or?
I mean, the more the better, I would say, but, you know, you don't want to go too much with them because then you kind of, people are just gonna be used to them again in a year or two. So any of the roads coming into the village, I think are great. You know, Maple Street, Lower Pennacook Road, Main Street, then Main Street out here in Hop Village. Those are going to be the most traffic areas, and I think those would be the most effective places to put them.
So we're talking like 5, 6-ish in that neighborhood, not like 20.
No. Yeah. I would say, I mean, I would say, yeah, probably 4 to 6 would probably be sufficient.
So
Oh, yeah.
I just want to be clear that the Pennacook Road speed in the ordinance is 30
Mhm.
and the speed on Indian Ridge is 25.
Okay,
Just that's what the ordinance.
right. Pennacook says 30 on it, right?
Could
Not 30,
you
okay.
scroll down to the 35 for Pennacook? Part of Pennacook is 35 and part
Right,
of,
from Gould Hill to the Four Corners
so
is
that
35.
the part that's 30 should say it goes to Gould Hill or whatever. It's not clear.
Oh.
The other option we have too is they make removable ones, I believe. I'm sure they're probably a little more expensive, but so we,
Moving around.
yeah, we can put them in the cruiser, move it to a different spot, kind of like the radar trailer, you know, but it's just not as bulky and cumbersome.
I think probably a combination of the two.
Mhm.
Certain places probably need them.
Yeah, I think you buy the bracket, you put the bracket up on the place you want to move it to, and then you just go and put it up in the bracket here, put it in. So you get like 10 brackets, you get one speed sign, and you pick 10 spots where you want it, you put the bracket on, and then just move it around all the time. So that's an option as well.
Getting back to the 30 and the 35, Boundtree Road is both speeds on this.
Boundary.
That's
So
right.
I don't know which one
Oh, you're
it
right.
should be.
Oh, that's,
I believe it's 35 all the way through.
If so, we should just strike the
Yeah.
Boundtree in the 30 mile.
Yeah,
we'll check.
What's the like approximate cost for the light up sign?
Anywhere between, I mean, you can go as low as, I think the cheapest I found it was probably 2,500 to,
Okay.
you can go, and pretty much the sky's the limit after that.
And what
I
are
think
the,
around 5
Yeah.
okay,
standard ones.
what are the grants you guys have looked into? Like, are they like state grants or? what? Yeah.
But we haven't had any luck so far actually getting them.
So one question I have for you about signs, I was in Maine a couple weeks ago and noticed in a very pedestrian heavy area, the sign said 30, or maybe it said 25, maybe it was 30, but it had a little sign that was like visible while you're driving that says like the dollar range for a speeding ticket. And I actually thought that was like, you know, it's something.
Yeah.
It might slow down a few people. So I don't know if you've like heard of this or had experience with
I
it.
have it. It's a digital sign though?
No, it was just a
Okay.
permanent, like under the speed
And that
limit.
wouldn't cost very much either.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh,
It said the
it's-
fine was pretty heavy.
Once they change, then you gotta change the sign.
Right. I wondered that, like how they keep up with it.
Yeah, I would say on average, maybe every 5 years they change,
Okay,
roughly.
because that could be, it was really just like a little drop down and it was like fines range from like 100 something to 200 something. And I was like, whoa, okay.
did you see that when you were
It
driving?
was in Biddeford, yeah. I know, I could see it as I approached it. So it must have been in like a 30.
You should just say fines are $1,000. No matter if they are or not.
Yeah, so,
I think one of the problems, though, any sign that's permanent people become very used to it.
yeah,
That's one of the advantages of the signs that give you the driver feedback signs. It gives you your speed that day. So it makes you not just ignore it.
what about just like adding, this was another thing I've seen, just like more signs that like say like either, I don't know, densely populated or like children and dogs that play or whatever they are, like the bright yellow signs. Like I know, I mean, it's something that might get a few people's attention. So I don't know if thought about adding those places or,
I don't know. I mean, that'd be something that like ask people if they're effective or not, you know, I don't know. how we would really find that out.
I think the experience has been they are not.
Yeah. I mean, I guess with all this stuff, it's like, there's no great solution short of having somebody permanently stationed at places to pull people over. And so even if we can do small, low-cost things that might get a few people to slow down, it's better than nothing, but
So, I mean, we could theoretically, like, one of these would cost like $2,500, something like that, like, or $5,000. Could we try one and see if it makes any noticeable difference? And if it does, then we could talk about either doing a warrant article or a budget thing to expand it. But like, that's not a crazy amount to just try it on a road and see what happens.
Why couldn't we just ask another town that has it, what's their experience? Would they do it again?
Also true.
My experience is I pass the same ones every day and it slows me down. And I've
Good one,
heard that
good
from a
data
lot of
point.
people.
Yeah, I just came back from a place where they had like every sign had one of these, and it was like everyone was at the exact speed limit.
Yeah.
It was remarkable. But again, that's just like personal experience, so I don't know how it carries over, but
Do you mind me asking where it was? I can
it
maybe.
was up, it was up in Canada, actually, so it was, yeah.
that probably helps.
That part does.
Terrible comparison.
I know.
Okay, so we've got the flashing sign idea. My cheapo ideas.
Someone mentioned like speed bumps or something. I'm sure the highway department would probably be very opposed to that. And it would probably be an issue with plowing, yeah, so that's why I'd steer away from those.
Mhm. Okay,
The other issue we run into too is Maple Street, Maple Street and Main Street are both state roads too.
mhm.
So if we were to do anything, we'd probably have to, I'm sure we could do the speed limit signs without an issue, but if we were to do anything to the roadway, we'd have to go through the state for that too, so.
Yeah, okay.
From your experience, if there was like one place you'd want to put one, where do you want to do it?
So many. Either Main Street here or Main Street, Kentucky Village, probably. Out here is, they get pretty fast too.
Mhm.
So I would say, yeah, one of the main streets, going into the villages. I honestly wish the school zones were more or better designated. I don't think the school zones are very designated at all. A lot of places have, 20 miles an hour when flashing or something like that, but there's nothing like that.
So that's interesting. So like, yeah, so many places it drops significantly. Do we not control that because this is a state?
No, we do. It's 10 miles an hour less than the posted limit, even though it's not
Oh.
posted, it's a law. So people are supposed to know that. And so anytime you go by a school zone during those hours, you're supposed to go down to 10. But not everybody, people who come through don't even know it's a school zone really.
Right.
So it's,
That road, like this right here is 25 miles an hour during school. I live right there.
Yeah.
that's why I wish it was better
I
posted.
actually didn't know that either. So maybe we could work on some basic school zone signs. This could be a discussion in our joint school board meeting.
Funny enough, I got a call from one of the residents at the end of Jewett Road, and he was talking about signage. And so I talked to Dan Blanchett, and I got to talk to District 5 about the signage. So I could always bring that up as well.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like some low hanging fruit to at least slow down people in these very sort of heavily trafficked zones.
Certainly, actually, all the school zones are in areas coming into the village.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a good
We
thing.
can also work on the driver feedback signs depending on our budget. and keep
Yeah.
looking For grants.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, thank you. Oh, yes. Do you want to?
May I comment? I don't know if they-
I think since, yes, you've been very involved, please. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes, so Martin King, Pennycook Road, halfway up the slope where the cars are going the fastest. So I think the discussions about the signs and the flashing signs, I think they're great and I think we need them and I do think they work. And we've had this discussion. So I actually met with Chief Pecora back in October, following me coming to this meeting in August. The discussion I had with Chief Pecora was very good, very productive. And at the time, he basically suggested the same thing. Those flashing permanent signs do a great job at slowing vehicles down. My request had been, I wasn't trying to boil the ocean, I was trying to keep costs low. So my request at the time was the vehicles on Pennycook Road that is now smooth, flat, and wide, appears to be wider, tend to be excessive. To some extent dangerous. Many of the properties like ours abut the road. So when I get my mail out, I'm standing on the road and there's cars that go past you 3 foot away. And even if they're doing 30 miles an hour, it feels dangerous. Some cars don't move over. Some cars just stick to their side of the road. And there's cars that literally do 45 or 50 miles an hour halfway up that road. So that's why I came to you a year ago. Discussion with Chief Pecora was good. He said if the town decided to make Pennycook Road 25 miles per hour, that's fine. That wouldn't be his recommendation. He had reasons for that, which he went over with me. However, now that Indian Ridge Road is 25, it takes away a key part of that, which was it would be a 25 mile per hour zone standing on its own. And it would be a bit difficult, my words now, I may not be representing what he said exactly, to ticket people for doing 28 on that one bit of road. But we now have a precedent that Indian Ridge Road, unbeknownst to me, changed to 25 miles an hour. So I think now I'd like to ask again, can we change that stretch of Pennycook Road from the cemetery up to where it joins Indian Ridge Road to 25 as a starting point? If we do get the signs some point down the road, that's great. That'll help even more, but I don't think it's going to harm many people to do 25 miles an hour instead of 30 down that short stretch of Pennycook Road. Right now, there are cars that fly up there.
I'll just note that
Yeah.
the signs have changed, but the ordinance hasn't changed.
So the ordinance is,
This was last adopted in 2017, so
Meaning Indian Ridge was not properly,
so
that I'm not sure.
because it's not,
But
so,
Indian Ridge has been 25.
because unless you're listed under 30 or 35 here, you're 25.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem's still the same. It doesn't matter, like, no one's reading this ordinance to see what the speed limit is, so it's.
No, I know, but the point,
But I'm just saying,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it didn't like officially change.
right, it's supposed to have been 25, it just may not have had the correct sign.
so the other point on that is somebody at some point felt it important enough to lower Indian Ridge from 30 to 25. And I think the same reasoning needs to be used for some of the other roads. And I suggest Pennycook Road.
So could I ask Chief Hennessy your opinion on this?
I don't necessarily think it'll slow people down. I just think they gotta go just as fast as they would and just give us a little more ammo, I guess you could say, to maybe give them a ticket if they're going a lot faster, whereas
Yeah.
they're doing 33 and a 30, we may not ticket them, whereas they're doing 33 and a 25, maybe more so. So, that in conjunction with some enforcement, it might. But I don't think just putting a 25 mile an hour sign, I don't think that's just gonna slow people down because
But it doesn't give you like heartburn because Chief Pecora was sort of neutral, but he definitely had, I think he was thinking he could do more to slow people down, but it sounds like if you don't have like serious concerns about dropping it, then I would be inclined to say, yes, it makes sense to drop it. But I think what you'd hear as a first question from everyone is, what does the chief think? And so if you don't have concerns, I mean, yeah, I agree. It's not like going to magically make people slow down, but it is something. Yeah.
Can I ask a process question? So there's some roads on here that need to be clarified, right?
At least
One.
one.
At least one, right? So if we are to do that, we'd have to vote on change this document.
Unless it's a typo compared to this. Yes, if
Okay.
this is what was adopted.
And so to change that document, do we have to have a public hearing? Or
Yes.
okay, so like, would it make sense then to just say we're gonna have a public hearing on the list of these roads? And then we can also add in discussing reducing the speed limit on this? Because I mean, like, to me, driving down that road, it feels like you're in a neighborhood. It's a short road connected to, like, it feels like a little neighborhood. It feels like, to me, it should be lower. It's worth a discussion.
So process wise, you generally would decide you're going to make a change and then hold a public hearing to present that change.
Got it.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't think we'd say like we're doing a wholesale review of every road on here,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, no, totally. I think like what I feel about this one is it's like, it's less about whether or not it's going to stop people or how
Right.
effective it's gonna be. And to me, it's more about what the speed limit on that road should
could
be.
be, yeah, exactly.
And if it should be different than what it's listed here, then it's worth a discussion.
Yeah. So do we need to vote to like move forward with this and have like a public
So
hearing?
basically you want a review of the speed limit ordinance.
With respect to, well, so we did this, was it Farrington Corner we did like 2 years ago? I wanna say?
2017 was the
That
last
was the
time.
last year, that was wow, okay. So my memory was that people had specific concerns about that road. And we voted to take up that issue, and then we had a public hearing on the ordinance, but it wasn't. I think like only the people, like we didn't like talk about every single road, I don't think. I mean, I guess we could have in theory, but
From 35 to 30.
yeah.
if I remember.
So process wise, we would just
Just
decide that we want to
talk
have a,
about Pennacook,
yeah, okay.
that's the portion of Pennacook.
Do others, Stephen, Ken, do you have?
That makes sense.
Okay,
So
And so you're saying from Main Street to
Indian
Indian
Ridge.
Ridge, just that section?
I mean, I suppose I would be interested in hearing from people, obviously, if others live on Pennacook and think that other sections should be considered, we
Down
would,
Gould Hill?
yeah, like we would, because Gould Hill's 25 and then you come into 35, so it's a big jump. So yeah, I guess I would be open to obviously hearing other concerns from people on that road, but I don't know. So do we need to,
So your proposal, it sounds like your proposal though is to Indian Ridge, and then you can always change it after public input.
yeah, yeah.
That seems reasonable.
the Four Corners, is that where it meets up with East Pennacook Road and goes to the transfer station,
Mhm.
or Dustin Road, whatever you want to
So
call it?
it's
Oh,
35.
Dustin is 35. Wow, that
to the
goes
Four
fast.
Corners.
Okay.
Huh.
And then East Pennacook Road from the Four Corners to the Concord line is 35 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so in terms of doing a public hearing, we could just maybe do that as part of our next meeting. I mean, it's a separate,
Generally, we get input from both DPW and then so probably schedule it, not the next meeting, but 2 meetings and bring back all that input
okay,
and finalize it, if that makes, so that would put it on, it's the 26th of September. It's the 12th is the.
yeah, it would be the 26th,
so
yeah,
September 26th.
okay. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate your attention on this. Thank you for being with us, chief.
Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, we're a little behind, I'm sorry. We have, next up, cemetery trustees regarding requests about the cemetery maintenance CRF.
I'll let you guys pass those down. There's even one for
Thank you.
So our wonderful Sexton, Joe Tristano's been doing lots of patching up of the shed in Kentucky Village. At the bottom part's all rotted out. So we thought it was time to do something a little more extensive, and we had him contact folks with different options from the one you see here to just replacing the whole thing. And we decided to go with the options from Pinnacle Landscaping that are circled on this document. And it totals a little over $8,000. So we're asking to be able to use our capital reserve fund was set aside before my time for cemetery maintenance. And as of December 2021, there was 14,600 some dollars in that fund. So we have plenty to play with, even if they find something more than they're expecting, I think.
So that fund, initially, each cemetery had a fund to expand. And those were all closed and combined into one. And it is for the purchase of additional land and maintenance of the cemetery. So it does fall into the purpose of that capital reserve.
I guess recognizing that you have more than enough funds for this, why are you not doing the couple of items that you didn't circle?
I think that Joe can do a lot of the painting. It was Ken and Joe kind of looked at it, and Ken gave a bunch of different options, and the two of them narrowed it down to what they thought were the best options to go with, knowing that Joe can do some of the work and some of the other work.
It looks like, Ken, just on that first B that's not circled, it says that during site visit, Joe stated there really isn't a need for that door. So that sounds like that may also be.
Yeah, he doesn't use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the request.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you very much. Sorry, we were a little late. Okay, so if we can try to quickly go through old and new business and then do public forum. We have a few non-publics we have to do. So under old business, we have Tyler Bridge update.
So Tyler Bridge work is proceeding. The bad news is that when the first side, the good news is when the first side was taken up, the pavement, the decking was not as bad as they expected. They thought that was the worst side. It turned out the other side was the worst side. So it's probably an additional about $95,000 to do the decking. The good news around that is we do have the money remaining in the bond. We also are receiving $160,000 in bridge aid. And the way the contract was done, it's unforeseen circumstances and it's set with amounts if that is found. And this falls into that. The engineer went very carefully through that. And so that's kind of where that is. But we really need to get this bridge.
Yeah.
It opened for good.
Do you know if that will add, how much time that will add?
It should not add any time.
Okay, that's good.
It's just more replacement. That won't take any longer.
Okay, good.
So that is the good news.
And Neil, on the 163,000 of bridge aid that we're getting, are there any caveats, how we can spend it or?
On bridges.
I'm just thinking, should we, allocate as much as is necessary if additional for Tyler Bridge, not knowing what other bridges we're going to be dealing with, and freeing up more of the loan funds?
Depending, there is wording that it can not replace what's already been approved. So we would use as much bridge aid on that as we're allowed to. under the law.
And what's approved would have been based on the estimates that was in the loan.
Well, that's a good question. What's approved when? Probably you accepted the bid and that amount prior to this money being authorized. So I would say probably everything up to the bid amount, but we'll get clarification. Was already approved.
And I'm just thinking that we want to use other money that may have stipulations to it before we use.
Exactly.
Okay.
We'll use as much as we can.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so new business, are we good to move on? We've got the state primary.
Yes, and so Sarah is looking for when people can be there, so make sure that there's coverage for when, if you're not.
Right.
I will be out of town.
Steven, come on.
Put your dog in the replace you.
Let's
Didn't say to you.
let's see.
Keep her on a leash.
There's probably like a 50-50 chance Jeff is out of town. I
think he did indicate he was going to be out.
Oh, man, okay. I can be in touch with Sarah, but I should be able to be there all day. I just have a couple of conference calls I'll have to like step out for, but I can give her the exact times, but I'm generally around and available. Or depending on
The morning's gonna be a little bit tight, but I can be there most of the rest of the day
you. Okay.
until school pickup.
And
Yeah,
Ken,
I can
Okay.
generally be available.
all right, good.
Is the other option still that we could designate somebody in our place if we're not there?
Yes, yes. So, and because you're mostly there, unless some boards have wanted me there all day, I'm not sure I need to be there all day.
You don't love being there all day.
We'll do setup the day before and make sure.
Do you want me to
everything's
designate you?
Oh. Then I would have to be there all day.
Do we have an issue though, if there's only two of us at any one point, or is it just like,
As long as you have a designee, it has to be all of you, not even just a quorum, but all of you.
oh,
So there has to be 5, including any designees at all times.
shoot, okay. So,
And can designees be people that are working there? Taking names?
Yes, because you all can serve as ballot clerks or anything else too.
okay. So you'll work on a designee, Stephen?
I will.
Okay. Neil, if you don't feel compelled to be there, I defer to you. As much as I enjoy our chats that we get to have on election day. Okay, so I'll touch base with Sarah too about our group.
I'll check with Jeff too and let Sarah know.
Okay. Any other updates for us?
So budget season is off and running. All the department heads now have the software on their computers so that they can enter their own budgets into the system. It also gives them the ability to run live reports of expenses and all of that. So they have all that. We, at the last staff meeting, the software company came and did a demonstration, and so that's all set. CIP requests have gone out. Probably the bad news is, as department heads, I know we're putting these together. The cost of the $48,000 one-ton cabin chassis is now $78,000 is what I learned. And that's pretty standard, unfortunately. So, so we'll see where those numbers come in. Houston Bard is moving forward. We have the contract with Milestone, and then they have found the engineer. Department heads involved in stuff. We met to figure out exactly where all the stuff is going. And I think there's a good plan for that between the building at George Park, the former rescue building, And then a storage container, which is included in the budget anyways. Most of the rec stuff will go into there. County night is Thursday night, 5 to 7 on the Kearsarge Gate. So
Is everyone able to,
for
I
that.
can't remember, you're not,
I'm out. Yeah.
are you able to
Like go to county night?
be there? Like help us work the gate?
Potentially.
Okay, starts at 5.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
2 weeks ago, the DS along with Nova's tested, got the samples from the septic lagoons at the transfer station. Those are being tested for PFAS. This is being covered by DES, a DES grant, which covers all of that. And fortunately, DES is not requiring us to test for anything else at this point, which saves us $10,000 to $20,000. Because if there's PFAS, which we're assuming that there is, it has to be, that's the most rigid standard anyway, so it doesn't really matter what else is there. So, so we're just waiting for those results. Really, I'm also working on trying to get rid of Horseshoe Tavern. The deeded property, you do have a list of potential deeded properties, but those notices went out to add to the others. We want to get those sold. Also coming up will be the follow up to the solar array at the gravel pit that will be coming up. We have the deed list, and community power. Those are the things that are on my list that hasn't gotten shorter very quickly.
So you're just mentioning community powers on your list.
Right.
That's all. Okay, and my understanding is that the PUC approved it, but then Jalcar is the next step, so there are not hard rules yet. So your understanding is
Right.
I think that's right. I know they had to go to jail car. Have you looked into this?
I don't know if they have been before them yet, though. But yeah, they definitely, the
They-
rules would have to go through jail for. Are you done?
I wasn't sure if Neil was.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, a couple of things. I know I've mentioned about the Boston Post cane, and what I've heard is a potential recipient is Ann Sims, who I heard is 101 or 102. Another thing to, I guess, put on your radar, Neil, is that the transfer station solar array, November is when they'd have to exercise their option.
Hmm.
And thank you for providing the information on the hydro dam ownership, and you know, we do have a year, but
We do, but we could not find anywhere where we don't own it. So we do, it's a pilot in place, but we own it. So,
yeah,
and it is, it's September. We're about to start year 40
yeah, and it's
of a 40.
we get 5% of the, I guess it's the gross revenues. You know, I guess it'd be worth looking into, well, whether we should be putting together some kind of committee to look at it at some point, or, you know, to understand if 5% is a reasonable percentage, or if it would make sense for the town to actually take it over, take advantage of the power that's generated. And you were going to look into, when you have a chance, how many dollars had been raised and set aside with regards to the dog park?
What was that?
With regards to the dog park?
And what's the question?
Oh, well, you had said that there was money that was still sitting in an account that had been raised for,
Oh, yes.
since Stephen wants to take his dog over there. It's fenced in.
Good to know.
So what's the question?
Well, if there's, $5,000 or $10,000 just sitting in there.
Oh, I don't
Is there
think there's
some-
$5,000 or $10,000.
Yeah, that's, how much is in there and is there, something we should, could do, put some picnic tables there or a cover for shade or something like that.
It covers the cost of the bags.
Yeah.
Check out
Yeah,
how much is in there.
that may be, fine. Okay, that's all I had.
All right. Do we need to think about a date for our joint school and select board meeting?
Yeah, I'm meeting with Mike Flynn tomorrow.
Okay.
Do you want us to, it's on my list to talk to him about.
Okay, that sounds good.
Set that, generally it's in October is that a reasonable time, October?
I think so. Yeah. Unless others want to move it up. I don't think we want to make it later.
Maybe-
All right.
Maybe earlier in October versus the end of October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Thank you, Neil. If we could do public forum, then I think we can move into our non-publics. So we have 2 people online. If anyone wants to speak, you can raise your hand, or anyone who's here. I see Bonnie, Bonnie Christie.
You should be able to unmute yourself, Bonnie.
Yep, got it. Thanks. 2 things, the dog park. If there is money available, we could definitely use some more shade. Dog park, and also a couple of secured to the ground chairs or another bench, maybe like those Trex benches or something.
Okay,
And the other thing is underneath the gate where it swings, it's kind of gotten divoted out and small dogs like mine can scoot under it. So I don't know if there's, if it's possible to fill in there and make it level again,
okay,
maybe a maintenance thing.
yeah. Can you flag that, Neil, first? Okay, thanks. Thanks, Bonnie.
Yeah, and one other question.
Yes.
Has there been any follow-up with Webster about getting members onto the Hopkinton Webster Refuse Disposal Committee?
Talked to the Webster Town Administrator. It's been a while now. I haven't talked to him recently, but I'll follow up with him.
Okay,
That's also on my list.
okay, thanks for flagging that, Bonnie.
Yep,
When
thank
we
you.
generally, we have to have a joint meeting with Webster, the transfer station budget.
Yeah, generally what happens is they come to the budget meeting
Okay.
in November when the transfer station is discussed, so.
All right, anything else, Bonnie?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thanks for tuning in. Anyone else? All right, unless people have anything else under other on the board, I think.
I had one very quick other, and it was a question, Neil, if we have ideas about additional items to be included in the CIP, what's the best process to sort of?
They should be submitted by the 12th.
Okay,
Is this through economic development?
yeah,
I sent a letter as well as the application form to Anna.
okay, perfect.
So she was included in that.
Okay, great.
And I did ask her if there's anything to add it.
Okay.
I want to get it in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna move that we go into non-public, and then we have 3 non-publics.
I think that the chief has a request too. I don't know if you could do that
Oh,
first, which would be, I believe it's an A.
oh, okay.
Under non-public.
Okay, so we have 4 non-publics. So once we do our non-publics, we will adjourn and will not conduct any other business. So thank you to everyone who came here tonight. So I will move that we go into non-public under RSA 91A32A and then subsequently C, B, and E.
Second.
All right, Steven,
Yes.
Ken? Yes,
Yes.
yes, okay. You need us to
You can
go
to
into a
separate
different,
room.
for you, go into a different room with you?
Yes.
Okay. Others, we'll be back